Previously on Echoes of History. Now it was time to see the consequences of these decisions.
The lamps are going out all over Europe. We shall not see them lit again in our lifetime.
Tsar Nicholas II had given the order to mobilize one of history's largest land armies. Franz Joseph I was preparing to enter the last great war of his life. President Raymond Poincaré was inviting all citizens in the country to war with the rhetoric of defense of the homeland. And in London, Prime Minister Herbert Asquith had to accept that remaining neutral was no longer an option. And now the time had come for this training to be tested.
Macht nur den rechten Flügel stark.
Keep the right wing strong. Everything had to work perfectly, and war didn't care about perfection on paper. On August 2nd, 1914, Germany presented Belgium with an ultimatum. The demand from Berlin was very clear. The German army wanted to pass through Belgian territory without resistance in order to reach France as quickly as possible. In return, Belgium's territorial integrity would be guaranteed. Belgian King Albert I was 39 years old. Tall, calm, but determined leader. When he read the German ultimatum, he said, "Belgium is not a road. Belgium is a country." Albert rejected this request as contrary to the country's neutrality and sovereignty. Belgium's neutrality had been guaranteed by European states with the 1839 Treaty of London. Germany had also signed this treaty. German Chancellor Bethmann Hollweg was surprised by Belgium's rejection of this ultimatum. He said the following to the British ambassador, "Are you going to war just because of a scrap of paper?" This expression, scrap of paper, went down in history and greatly damaged Germany's image in diplomacy. Despite everything, on the morning of August 4th, 1914, German troops crossed Belgian borders. This action by Germany was a major blow to the heart of European diplomacy. German officers didn't think Belgium would put up serious resistance against them. "We'll cross in a few days," they said, but they were wrong. Belgium's first resistance began at the forts of Liège. The Belgian garrison under General Gérard Lemoyne held out in the city surrounded by 12 modern forts. These forts were reinforced with concrete and had modern cannons. The German army was surprised at this situation. They had to stop before Liège. The plans that had been made began to fall apart. They had to bring Big Bertha from the Krupp factories. These gigantic cannons weighed 47 tons. Each one fired shells weighing 1 ton. Big Bertha cannons were brought from Germany by train. Special tracks had to be laid to transport each cannon. 200 men were needed to set up these gigantic cannons, and the setup took exactly 6 hours. When the first Big Bertha cannon was fired, the explosion sound was heard from 20 kilometers away from the city. The explosion was so powerful that it was shattering concrete walls meters below the ground. Thus it was the turn of the Belgian soldiers to be shocked. They had never seen such a weapon before. Even though the forts were built as modern, they had no chance against this monster. A Belgian officer had written the following in his diary, "My God, it's as if something was sent from hell. Every explosion is like an earthquake." The forts fell one by one, but the German advance had been delayed by a week, and the precise schedule of the Schlieffen Plan had been disrupted. During this time throughout Belgium, bridges were being blown up, and railways were being sabotaged to slow down the Germans. Meanwhile, civilian towns were being evacuated. There was fear in the eyes of women with suitcases in their hands, blankets on their backs, and children. As German troops advanced, they applied harsh measures to the civilian population they encountered. There was a fear of Franktireur in German doctrine, meaning civilian snipers. In the 1870 war with France, German soldiers had been subjected to civilian attacks, and this trauma was still alive. On August the 25th, an incident occurred in the city of Leuven. Gunshots were heard during the night hours. German soldiers panicked and thought civilian snipers were attacking them. In fact, their own troops had fired at each other in the dark. The revenge for this panic they experienced had terrible consequences. The city was set on fire, and 248 civilians were killed. The famous Leuven Catholic University Library was burned along with its 300,000 books. Medieval manuscripts, scientific works, all turned to ashes. In the town of Defiance, mass executions were carried out in the town square. On August the 23rd, 674 civilians, women, children were shot. The youngest victim was a 3-month-old baby. These events were etched in minds with the headlines, "Belgium's Martyrdom," in the world press. Germany's international image was seriously damaged. These developments in Belgium became a turning point for London, because Britain had guaranteed Belgium's neutrality under the 1839 Treaty of London. But the issue was not just a treaty. Britain's foreign policy had been based on one principle for centuries: the balance of power in Europe. No country should dominate the European continent. If the Belgian road was open, France would fall. Germany would also rule the continent. Britain would not be the one balancing, but the one losing balance. On the night of August the 4th, Britain declared war on Germany. In Parliament, War Minister Lord Kitchener posed with his finger extended for his famous poster, "Your country needs you." In the first month, 750,000 people enlisted. Young men were waiting in line. Some were not telling their real age. Some were being rejected for being too young, but they still came to fight. Shortly after the declaration of war, approximately 120,000 professional soldiers belonging to the British Expeditionary Force crossed to France. It might have seemed small in number, but these soldiers with Lee Enfield rifles in their hands were disciplined and experienced soldiers who had been in colonial wars for years. Among these soldiers was a young man named Bourne. He had written the following note in his diary: "We're going to France. My mother cried, but I'm excited. We made a bet with friends. If they don't come back by Christmas, I win. I don't think I'll win." The Lee Enfield rifles used by these trained soldiers could fire 15 rounds per minute, and this was extraordinary firepower for the 1914 battlefield. These soldiers trained at the musketry school in Hythe could make 15 accurate shots in 1 minute in a drill called Mad Minute. A British soldier spoke about this training as follows: "They made us shoot for years from morning to night. My fingers got calluses from pressing the trigger. But in the end, I could load and fire the rifle even with my eyes closed." The Germans didn't know this yet, but they would learn very soon.